Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shah. So we gotta give all praises honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rekah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all the occupants, pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hope for the elect. And shalom to the Akwath who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Orlando Camp coming at you another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification. Another day edification, Lord willing. Let's be edifying. And I titled this lesson, World War III is Prophecy. And this is kind of like a lamb back off the lesson I did yesterday. Going into these nations preparing for war, right? Which is right now rumors of wars. And the reason these things is playing out, man, because of the wicked of the earth, because of the wicked rulership of the earth. And as the scriptures say, which I'm going to read, by this devil deceiving the world, man, now all these nations is pissed off. Everybody is pissed off with the wicked rulers of the earth. Therefore, World War III is about to spring forth. So I'm going to pull these clips. I got a few clips I'm going to play. Then I'm going to get a few precepts. So Lord willing, be edifying. So let me pull this first. So check this out. I'm turning this volume down. Hey, because all these things is happening because of wicked rulership, man. Because of the wicked that's in rulership. So let me make sure it's sharing. We're going to play some of this and we're going to get some precepts.
Iran's army has launched a large military drill near the country's border with Azerbaijan, in a show of force amid tensions with its neighboring country, partly linked to Azerbaijan's close ties with Israel. State television showed footage of tanks, helicopters, artillery, and soldiers being deployed in an unspecified area in northwestern Iran. The army also said it was testing a locally manufactured long-range drone and other achievements for the first time. Iran has openly said it is concerned about Azerbaijan's close military ties with its arch-foe Israel, whose provision of high-tech assault drones and other equipment to the Azerbaijani army is thought to have helped tip the balance in its favor during its 44-day war with Armenian forces last year. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian warned that Iran does not tolerate the presence and activities of the Zionist regime against its national security and will do whatever is necessary in this regard. During the military drill, Qaimers Hidari, the commander of the Iranian army's ground forces, told that Iran is also concerned about the presence of fighters that Azerbaijan brought in during last year's fighting over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh.
So lock it for the infomercial.
Your purchase could be free when you use your Credit Karma Visa debit card. Free groceries, free gas.
Iranian officials have been making claims about Israeli military activity in the region. Most recently, Iranian Foreign Minister said on October 6 that Tehran was deeply concerned by Israel's presence in the Caucasus. Azerbaijan used Israeli-made armed drones in a brief conflict with Armenia last year, and ties have continued to develop since then, with an Azerbaijan trade office opening in Tel Aviv this summer. Iran now says Israeli military advisors are active in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has denied such claims, with Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Layla Abdullayeva saying on October 4, "We do not accept the allegations about the presence of any third forces near the Azerbaijan-Iran border because these views have no basis." Israel's ambassador to Azerbaijan, George Deek, has arguably not helped matters by stepping up his criticism of Iran on Twitter and saying, in a video posted on September 1, that "I have been near the border many times." On the other side, Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev said during an interview that he was surprised by the planned military exercise. "Every country can carry out any military drill on its own territory. It's their sovereign right. But why now, and why on our border?" he said, pointing out that this would be the first time since the fall of the Soviet Union that Iran is making such a show of force so close to the border. Rahim Rahimov is explaining some details of the current crisis. Tehran launched the second phase of these exercises, codenamed Conquerors of Khyber, on October 1. The moniker refers to the historic Battle of Khyber in present-day Saudi Arabia, in which Muslim fighters defeated a Jewish force. Brigadier General Qaimers Hidari attributed the significance of the drills to what he depicted as the overt and covert presence of the Zionist regime's proxies and the possibility of a significant number of ISIS terrorists in regional countries. Baku rejected the Iranian accusations. Azerbaijan's various military exercises in recent weeks may have served as a trigger for the Iranian maneuvers. Indeed, the Iranian side criticized the Azerbaijani-Turkish naval drills in the Caspian Sea, held earlier in September. Tehran's argument was based on the provision of the Convention on the Legal Status of the Caspian Sea, signed in 2018 by the littoral states, including Iran and Azerbaijan. According to that accord, no military of a non-littoral state can be present in the Caspian Sea. But the problem is that Iran has yet to ratify the Caspian Convention, and so the document has still not legally come into force. Subsequent Azerbaijani-Turkish-Pakistani special forces drills in Azerbaijan were another trigger for Iran in light of Tehran's uneasy relations with Islamabad. Fatah Hossein Maleki, a leading member of the Iranian parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, stated that the drills carried out by the governments of Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and Turkey are worrying. Last but not least, Azerbaijani and Turkish special forces conducted renewed exercises in the direct vicinity of the Lachin Corridor, which physically connects the Armenian-populated parts of Karabakh to the Republic of Armenia and is currently guarded by Russian peacekeepers.
Now remember that name, Armenian, because when we get the precept, when all this is playing together, a part of this battle is about to play out.
While these maneuvers were a source of concern for Moscow, they also somewhat affected Tehran. It is via this corridor that Iranian trucks have been delivering various cargoes to Karabakh Armenians without Baku's permission. Azerbaijan recently blocked Iranian trucks traveling to the Armenian-populated parts of Karabakh along the Lachin Corridor Road, short sections of which pass through the occupied Azerbaijani territory, and Azerbaijani authorities arrested several Iranian drivers making this trip, all of which further roiled bilateral tensions. Maleki urged Baku to reconsider its recent actions and not to obstruct trade between Armenia and Iran. Otherwise, the resulting problems will impinge on Baku more. In his interview, Aliyev posed another question to Tehran. Is this market of 25,000 Armenians really so important? Is this trade really so significant that you display such blatant disrespect for Azerbaijan? With Washington's encouragement, Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili has reportedly been mediating between Yerevan and Baku, presumably one of the reasons for his September 29 visit to Baku. And he apparently communicated Armenia's desire to reopen talks directly to Turkish President Erdogan. However, Erdogan declared that any negotiations with Yerevan had to be preceded by Armenia's opening of the transport corridor between Azerbaijan and its Nakhchivan exclave. Still, the potential thaw between Armenian and Turkey-Azerbaijan fuels nervousness in Iran. In particular, Tehran interprets the opening of what official Baku calls the Zangezur corridor through southern Armenia, along the Iranian border, as a change in international borders. General Hidari warned that a possible weakness in Armenia to protect its borders gives no reason to other countries to change the borders. The Islamic Republic will not allow that. Another high-ranking Iranian general, Mohammad Pakpar, the commander of the Islamic Revolution Guards Corps ground forces, declared that any geopolitical change in the region would be a red line for Tehran. In turn, President Aliyev has repeatedly emphasized that Azerbaijan drastically disrupted the geopolitical reality in the South Caucasus through the Second Karabakh War, describing the Shusha Declaration on Allied relations with Turkey as the greatest celebration of the new geopolitical reality. The Zangezur corridor epitomizes this new regional reality, the Azerbaijani leader stressed. On October 4, Aliyev visited the border region, where the Iranian exercises were taking place, to condemn Tehran's accusations and urged the latter not to meddle in Azerbaijan's affairs. A day earlier, Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei had tweeted, "Those who dig a hole for their brothers will be the first to fall into it." The Azerbaijani-Iranian disagreements will persist and likely reverberate in increasingly novel manifestations. It should surprise no one that an Iranian media outlet recently called for establishing an Iranian military base in the southern Armenian region of Syanik, where the Zangezur corridor is to pass through, as a more effective alternative to holding military exercises. Small new arguments continue to flare up, adding to the sense of geopolitical shifts. Azerbaijan's Interior Ministry said that the Baku office of Ali Akbar Ahmadinejad, a representative of Iran's supreme leader, has been closed. The official reason was that it was part of measures to battle the coronavirus pandemic. The Iranian embassy in the city has been pushing for it to be reopened.
Nah, come back to me. I'm showing you these clips because all this is leading up to World War III. So let me get rid of that. All this is leading up to World War III, man. So let me pull this next one. Then I got a main one I'm going to play. So check this one out.
Let's turn to West Asia now. Two old foes talking about war, Israel and Iran. It all started with a report last week. Israel is apparently setting aside funds for attacking Iran. How much money are we talking about? Around $1.5 billion. Israel plans to spend this money, $1.5 billion, on new weapons, modern jets, intelligence gathering drones, and other artillery. The rumor is they also want a very specific American weapon, the GBU-72 Advanced 5K penetrator. It's also called the bunker buster. This weapon could be used to penetrate Iran's nuclear sites. Israel wants to buy it from the US. Will Joe Biden sell? The US has sold smaller bunker busters to Israel in the past. Plus, there is bipartisan support for arming Israel. The next question is, will Israel attack? How serious are they about starting a war? According to some reports, the Israeli Air Force is already training pilots. Their pilots are running simulations, basically reenacting how they would hit Iranian targets. Is there any scope left for diplomacy? Well, there always is, but the window is closing fast. Officials say the Iran nuclear deal is on the verge of collapse. Neither America nor Iran is taking a step back. Joe Biden is sticking to his original demand: rejoin the deal and we will lift sanctions. Iran wants the very opposite: lift the sanctions and we will save the deal. To make matters worse, the new regime in Iran is second-guessing the deal. Their worry is this: it's a lot of haggling, a lot of diplomacy. Is it worth the effort? Their hardline vote bank would love a more stern approach to the West. And that's where we stand, a perfect stalemate. Except in this case, Iran is not interested in the status quo. If the talks collapse, Tehran will continue nuclear enrichment, and if that happens, Israel will take the military approach. Foreign Minister Yair Lapid says, striking Iran is not just their right, it's their responsibility.
If a terror regime is going to acquire a nuclear weapon, we must act. We must make clear that the civilized world won't allow it. If the Iranians don't believe the world is serious about stopping them, they'll race to the bomb. Israel reserves the right to act at any given moment in any way. That is not only our right, it is also our responsibility.
You see that? Oh, this is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 45. And it reads, Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon, and his proposes that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Who's the least of the flock? Israel. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. You see, the least of the flock is Israel, man. This is the chief. This is the chief house of Esau Edom.
You can guess how Iran responded to that. Here's what their top security officials said. Instead of allocating $1.5 billion budget for atrocities against Iran, the Zionist regime, that is Israel, should focus on providing tens of thousands of $billion funding to repair the damage that is going to be caused by Iran's shocking response.
And there was a video that was done in August the 5th, 2021, when Israel said that they would strike Iran alone. Well, all this is leading to World War III, man. And who was the one to make everybody to get to this point? Is Esau Edom, man. And I'm going to read in Revelations 20.
Strong words there. Both countries are threatening war. They're talking about devastating consequences. The nuclear weapons are the big issue here, but it's not the only one. Iran is one of the biggest advocates for a Palestinian state. For decades, the issue has fueled the Arab-Israel rivalry. Some Arab states have buried the hatchet. They have dehyphenated Israel and Palestine with the Abraham Accords. Iran's supreme leader had some tough words for those Arab states. He compared the Abraham Accords to sins that had to be corrected.
Some governments have unfortunately made errors, have made big errors, and have sinned in normalizing their relations with the usurping and oppressive Zionist regime. It's an act against Islamic unity. They must return from this path and make up for this big mistake.
Iran will debate the nuclear deal, it will debate sanctions, but it will not debate Palestine, which is why Israel's latest moves are likely to enrage them further. Around 3,000 new settlements have been approved in the West Bank. This land was captured by Israel in the 1967 war, but Palestinians claim it as part of their future state. Almost 460,000 settlers live in the West Bank. More could follow under the new Israeli government. So many differences, so many threats and war cries. But will Israel actually strike Iranian nukes? Well,
and it's neither one of their lands, man. It's neither one of their lands. They both are heathens, man. But it's just prophecy playing out, man.
Have done it before. There have been cyber strikes, power outages, mysterious fires, all sorts of accidents at Iranian nuclear sites. Tehran has always blamed Israel for these mishaps. If Israel and Iran do come to blows, it would be a failure on two counts. One, the obvious destruction and loss of life, and two, a massive failure for diplomacy. Joe Biden firmly believed that he could save the nuclear deal with Iran, but 10 months into his presidency, Iran and Israel are threatening war.
Now, let me come back to me and pull this other clip. Because this is beautiful, man. Let me get this. Let me get rid of that. See, this devil said it's their responsibility, man. Well, that's prophecy. Let's get this one. Then I got a main one I'm going to play. And this is new. So let me get this one, and we're going to play the new one after this.
Iran is flexing its muscles in the region. First, it held war exercises near the Azerbaijan border. Now it has warned Israel over its presence in the country. In our next report, we take a look at what is Iran's endgame here.
This is Iran and Azerbaijan. The two share a 700-kilometer border. The countries have enjoyed cordial relations, but war games have now driven them apart, stoking flames of enmity in the region. It started last year with the Nagorno-Karabakh War. The 44-day war marked a significant victory for Baku. Armenia handed over much of the conflicted region to Azerbaijan. This changed everything between Baku and Tehran. Earlier, much of Iran's shared border was under Armenia's control. Now, this border area belonged to Azerbaijan. Frustrated by Iran's support to Armenia, Baku cracked down on smuggling near the border. Tensions were further stoked by joint military drills. The Azerbaijani army, along with Turkey and Pakistan, held drills just 500 kilometers away from the country's border with Iran. Escalating the dispute further, Iran conducted military exercises near the border. The West Asian nation went all out. There were tanks, howitzers, and helicopters, all firing at targets on the ground. A multi-day exercise to flex its military muscles. Since then, there have just been tit-for-tat actions. The Azerbaijani government ordered the closure of a Baku mosque. Ironically, it was linked to Iran's supreme leader. Azerbaijan claimed that the move was necessary. It said that there has been an upsurge in COVID-19 cases. Iran, however, said it was not informed about the closure. Currently, there are two reasons why the countries are clashing. The first is Azerbaijan's growing regional clout. Baku is planning to establish the Zangezur border. This is an overland corridor across southern Armenia. It will link up the Nakhchivan enclave bordering Turkey. Iran fears that the deal will cut it off the region. The second is Azerbaijan's long relationship with Israel. Iran is concerned by Israeli presence in the Caucasus and says that it will not tolerate any geopolitical change. It is a warning it has sounded, not once, but twice.
We certainly will not tolerate geopolitical change and map change in the Caucasus, and we have serious concerns about the presence of terrorists and Zionists in the region.
While Iran and Armenia may not look like partners, the reality is that Tehran is pretty close to Yerevan. Iran needs Armenia as a crossing for transport, while Yerevan is sticking to Iran to stand up against its neighbor. Currently, there are many factors affecting Tehran-Baku relations. There is Tel Aviv and Washington, the Armenian community in Iran, as well as fears of Iranian influence in the Azeri society. For now, tensions are running high. With the diminishing US presence in West Asia, Iran is pushing for more and more influence. But Azerbaijan is also not backing down. It is strengthening its relationship with Turkey and Israel, a move that Iran views as an existential threat. How the conflict plays out in the coming days is something we will have to wait and watch out for.
Now you see how cold that is? Because Turkey, I just did a video on this about a week or two ago. North America is pissed off with Turkey because Turkey is buying S-400s from Russia. And they told North America because North America ain't giving them the F-35 jets that Turkey already purchased from North America, and they ain't delivered them. So Turkey telling North America they'll have nothing to do with them spending their money in Russia. Because what Turkey said, because Turkey wanted to get F-35s and missiles from North America, but they wouldn't deliver. So Turkey said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get the F-35s from North America, and we're going to get the missiles from Russia. So to show you, man, that this, it's a separation, man. They is not on one accord.
West Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
WION now available.
See, this is the game. This is the game that Yahweh Shema Shah is playing, man. So everybody thinking this is going to come together, that everything will go back to normal, that everything's going to be Nah, it's not going back to normal, man. Ain't going back to how it used to be, man. So let me get this. Cause this is new. See, it's a game, man. This is a chess game, man. This is Yahweh Shema Shah playing chess, man. Now this is new, like today new. So it say this is actually this is October 22nd. It say NATO's master plan to defeat Russia in nuclear war, which I did a lesson on this yesterday, but they go into more detail than this. So check this out.
NATO's new master plan dealing with Russia includes a strategy on how to defeat Russia in a nuclear war. And while NATO officials say no such attack is imminent, Moscow says the move proves it was the right thing to do to cut ties with the alliance. RT's
Now we know this ain't gonna go down. We know this. In the words of Yahweh Shema Shah, the Lord said he is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. So we know this ain't gonna happen, man. But this is the pride of these devils to speak these things, man. It said the pride of his heart have deceived him. But let's listen.
John Huddy has more.
NATO's concept for deterrence and defense in the Euro-Atlantic area, as it's called, is essentially a plan on how NATO forces would deter and fight Russian forces in the Baltic and Black Sea regions. It includes not only military, but cyber warfare, and involves a worst-case scenario situation, that being nuclear war. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg stressed that no such attack by Russia is quote-unquote imminent, and that the plan is meant to be a deterrence more than anything. But the move only adds to the growing contention between Russia and NATO, with Russia cutting all communications with the European alliance and pulling its mission to NATO and NATO's resources in Moscow. Even Stoltenberg said Russia-NATO relations are their most difficult and lowest point since the end of the Cold War. But as defense officials wrap up their meetings in Brussels and tout some of the objectives achieved, such as a $1 billion innovation fund for technologies used for defense and security operations, there are rifts even within NATO that have become more transparent. Just a month ago, for instance, headlines were made when Australia agreed to a massive submarine deal with the U.S. instead of France. And this week, a top Turkish defense official threatened that Turkey would buy Russian fighter jets instead of U.S. fighter jets if the U.S. doesn't make good on a deal to sell Turkey F-16 jets to make up for its loss of F-35 stealth fighters.
See, there you go.
All that said, though, NATO Secretary General did his best to try to downplay NATO's reported rifts.
What we have demonstrated today is that, yes, sometimes there are bilateral differences, disagreements between allies, but NATO is always able to unite around our core task and continue to work together and to strengthen the alliance in a more competitive world. And
now you see how Turkey demands F-16s to substitute for broken promise of F-35s. This devil have always broken his promise, man. What? Turkey done paid you their money for the F-35s. Where they at, man? So then these devils are going to tell them they can't buy missiles from Russia? Well, prophecy says that Turkey is going to join Russia, man. As these other nations, Armenia, which I'm going to read the scriptures, man. Armenia is another country that's going to join Russia, man.
And if anything, the challenges we see in the Asia Pacific, the rise of China, just makes it even more important that Europe and North America stand together in NATO.
And he said that includes stepping up the cooperation and partnership in the Asian Pacific region with New Zealand, Australia, South Korea, and Japan. Meantime, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, speaking of Russia, said what President Biden wants out of any kind of relationship with Russia is, quote, predictability and stability. That said, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov criticized NATO's quote-unquote master plan when it comes to dealing with Russia, saying that such a concept by NATO confirms it once again was not created for peace, but, quote, designed and created for confrontation. For RT, John Huddy.
And here to discuss all of that, our panel today, former UK MP George Galloway and veteran war journalist and researcher Elijah Magnier.
Hey, now this guy right here, George Galloway, He goes in, man. He's another guy that goes in, along with Chris Hedges and Richard Wolff, about how Babylon the Great will be destroyed, man.
George, over to you first. NATO General Secretary Jens Stoltenberg says this is just an effort to strengthen the alliance and modernize contingency plans. Other officials added that they don't believe an attack is imminent, but they just want to be prepared. But that only explains the defense part of the title of this program, George. What of the deterrence part?
Well, either I'm going mad, Manila, or these people have gone mad. If you just dissect what that statement means, it means that they have a plan to destroy, annihilate, remove from the map the very places that they say they intend to defend. It's the old Vietnam adage, this village will have to be destroyed in order to save it. Because nuclear war, which is the final position of this pronunciamento today, means the end, literally the end of life on the planet. Life on the planet as a whole, or at the very least in the case of short and medium range nuclear missiles, the end of life as we know it.
And we know that, man. We know this according to the scriptures. What is that? That's 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, man. Right? Hey, that the end may come through them, man. Oh, matter of fact, let me get this. You see, this is all playing out, man. Yahweh Shema Shah, the masters of war, man. Strategic moves, man. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 11 and 39. It reads, Are not thou it that remainest of the fourth beast, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times may come through them? Who? Through Esau Edom, man. That's all I gotta read, man. Let's get 2nd Ezra, chapter 6 and 9. It reads, For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. What did George Galloway just say? Let's run it back, man.
Adage, this village will have to be destroyed in order to save it. Because nuclear war, which is the final position of this pronunciamento today, means the end, literally the end of life on the planet. Life on the planet as a whole, or at the very least in the case of short and medium range nuclear missiles, the end of life as we know it, the turning into ash of the very Baltic
And that's
republics
prophecy.
they say they are intent on defending. And of course, they say that there is no such threat to the Baltic states in any case. And of course, there isn't. If you forced Stoltenberg to say what it is that has reduced relations between NATO and Russia to the lowest level since the Cold War, he would not be able to give you a single example. All of the aggression is going the other way. It's NATO that's having the war games. It's NATO that's moving its tanks closer and closer to Russia. As I say, either I've gone mad or these people are barking mad.
And Elijah, on that note, the Kremlin press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, fired back at the decision to adopt this program, saying, quote, this alliance was not created for peace. It was conceived, designed, and created for confrontation. Obviously, the inception of NATO was during the Cold War. The question now is, why does the bloc still exist?
Well, that's a very good question. When we see the trade exchange between Europe and Russia that mounts in 2020 to $174.3 billion, we see a very good collaboration between Russia and Europe. And then we hear President Emmanuel Macron saying that NATO is brain dead. what's the purpose of having NATO and we don't have a strategy. We understand that NATO is mainly the US, it is forced upon Europe, and Europe is not an enemy of Russia and doesn't know what to do with NATO. Therefore, when NATO commander-in-chief is saying that we have a good collaboration among allies, we hear the allies saying we don't need NATO and NATO doesn't have any strategy. And then we hear a very important NATO member excluded or punished by NATO, that is Turkey. And we see the confrontation between NATO members in Syria, that is Turkey and the US. So basically, NATO is an arm of the US that has been imposed on Europe to convince that Russia is an enemy, but Europe seems not convinced at all.
Now, gentlemen, in the world of diplomacy, is it foolish or more fruitful to act out of good faith, if you will? Meaning, if you want friendly relations with Russia, should you first behave in a friendly manner, George?
That'll be their best bet.
You know, I was a grown man, Manila, before I learned that NATO had been formed years before the Warsaw Pact. Everyone younger than me imagines that NATO was a response to the Warsaw Pact military alliance of the former socialist countries led by the USSR. But in fact, NATO was established years before the foundation of the Warsaw Pact. And that's what Peskov is really saying. From the very beginning, this NATO was an offensive, aggressive, belligerent military agglomeration, as our friend just said, imposed upon the people of Europe, not chosen by the people of Europe. But even if it had a logic in the Cold War, it has none now. And what we're seeing is a series of belligerent moves against Russia on the pretext that Russia is somehow a threat to people. It is no threat to whatsoever. Becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, all of this, Manila. The more you ramp up aggro against Russia, the more Russia will feel that it has something to fear from this group of countries. So yes, of course, jaw is better than war, but we don't do jaw much anymore.
This is like you. And that's all I want to play on that. So it was infomercial coming in anyway. It ends at the last few minutes. So, and we know Russia ain't taking nothing, man. No matter what Babylon the Great do, Russia ain't taking nothing. This is Isaiah 13 and 17. Oh, Salakia. This Isaiah 13 and 17. It say, Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Right? This is because they want blood, man. As a matter of fact, let me finish reading this. Isaiah 13 and verse 18. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? Now, it mentioned in one of the other videos that I did about the Armenians. Now, this is Jeremiah 51 in verse 24. I'm going to start at 24. It reads, And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all that evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh Shema Bashar. So for them, Zechariah 1 and 15, help forward in affliction, how they went overboard and putting their hands on so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. This is what's going to play out, man. Right? He say, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all the evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. So how they destroying the land, right? How they destroying the land, how they destroyed the peoples of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites. Well, they got to pay for that. Verse 25, Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. And there's only one country, there's only one nation of people that's destroying the entire planet. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. This is Jeremiah 51:27. Set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. These are the nations that's going to join Russia. It's a call together against her, the kingdoms of Ararat, right, which is Turkey. It's a many and Ashkenaz. Many is, when you go into this in the blue letter, many is the Armenians. It's a an Ashkenaz appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. What is a rough caterpillar, man? What do caterpillars do? It eat up the crops. So if they're a rough caterpillar, what does that mean? Listen, verse 28 say, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. This is Ezekiel 38, man, right? It's saying the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. It say one post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, and show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end. And this is what we see going on, man. It say to be a total desolation, right? The rough caterpillars, man. Destruction. Again, let's read this again. Jeremiah 51:27. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, many and Ashkenaz, appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as a rough caterpillar. Now, Ashkenaz, when you go to this word, that's one of the sons of Gomer, right? Which are the sons of Japheth. So, who is this? It's Iran, man. It's them Elamites, man, right? So it say, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. These are these nations coming together, man. These are all these nations, starting with Russia, coming against Babylon the Great, man. Now this is Joel chapter 2 and verse 20, and it reads, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, which is the Persian Gulf, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, which is the Red Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. Who is this? The fourth beast, man. Right? Well, which is Babylon the Great, which is of the seven, right? North America, the revised Roman Empire. The Lord say he's gonna remove the northern army, man, into a land barren and desolate. All this is World War III, man. This is Revelation chapter 20. And I'm gonna start at 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he shall deceive the nations no more, till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. Now, when you go to Isaiah, when you go to Job chapter 30, 1 through 7. It tell you that these devils was put into the caves for 1,000 years, right? This is verse 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan, which is the word Satan means adversary, Satan should be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations. That's why I tell you in Jeremiah 51, these nations are angry. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. What battle? World War III. And what they doing now? They keep poking the bear, man. There's a lesson I did a while ago. They keep poking this bear, man, which is Russia. To do what? To battle. It said the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. When these nations join, all the allies of Babylon the Great join to Russia, man, it's going to be a great, mighty army, man. Because we know, and we saw it play out live on TV, man, in the news. This is Jeremiah 50 in verse 13. It reads, Jeremiah 50 and 12. Your mother, to my Babylon the Great's mother, your mother shall be so confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land and a desert. Why? Because of this devil who was loosed out of his prison, man. Now, your mother's who? Great Britain, right? Who funded Babylon the Great? What we saw, that was the Brexit was Great Britain separating from these devils, man. As EU going to do, right? Revelation 17. This is all playing out, man. And we watching it in real time, man. As we go back to Matthew 13, we watching it play out, man. This is Matthew 13 and 16. Matter of fact, yeah, Matthew 13 and 16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear and have not heard them. Because when the Lord told Daniel, man, that he had to come back and prophesy again, right? Daniel was in the head, man, the go ahead, Babylon, man. So Daniel had to come back now. And when you read in Acts 1 and 6, when the apostles asked Yahushua, was it time for him to restore the kingdom again to Israel? He told them, no, you got to go to the utmost corners of the earth and preach the gospel, man. Meaning here, well, in Babylon the Great, where we at now, man. So this is prophecies that we get to see, man. Which the prophets are back right now. We don't know who they are, or where they at, but they here, man, and they watching the prophecy play out. Same thing he told to John in Revelation 10, that John had to come back and prophesy before many tongues, nations, and kings, right, and kingdoms, right. So when we watching playing out every day in the news, man. So while Jake running around here playing games, one by chasing the bag, trying to get your master's, bachelor's, and associates, and your real estate license, and every other your journalist license, or whatever you're trying to get. Hey, this kingdom is collapsing, man. World War III is brewing. The Karama is brewing up. They pushing this. And now watching the news this morning. Hey, they pushing this Jabberwocky, man. Ain't gonna be no more jobs. Come next year around this same time, it might not be no work, man. If we be here, because they pushing everybody to take, they giving all these, some jobs got to November, some jobs got, 25th, some jobs got to October the 30th, man, to take the Jabberwocky, man. It might not be no more work, man, because these devils know they running out of time, man. So they finna come down with great wrath, man, as prophecies say. We see what's playing out, man. So while Jake running around here playing games, man, the MOTB is about to be made mandatory, man. World War III is about to be made mandatory, man. We see it. Pestilence and famine is brewing throughout the four corners of the earth. It just hasn't hit North America yet, man. Well, wait till it hit here, man. Because people is starving right now. As we doing this lesson, people are starving around the world, man. Well, wait till it hit Babylon the Great, man. All you proud Jakes out there, man. What you gonna do? Because you have been warned. You have been warned, man. This is in his likeness, Yasharallah. Shalom to the Akuman Outwalk on the comment board. Shalom for tuning in. Yahweh Shem Mavashab Rakatham. This is Jeremiah 51:11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua have raised up the spirit of the kings. What the rest of it at? Let me see. Let me get it. Salaki, because let me go back. Hold on. Okay. Have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. It's a spirit, man. Yahweh Shema Bashai, man. And we see it playing out. And hey, this is because the wicked rulership of Esau Edom, man. The world is tired of this devil, man. This is Jeremiah 51. And let's read this. This is Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. You see, when you go to Habakkuk 2, it tell you how this devil put the bottle to all these nations, man. So now their nakedness is being exposed. Every nation is in debt because of this devil, man. Because of the petrodollar, man. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? That's future prophecy, man. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If it so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Why? Because of the end times, it's going to come through them, man. Like it says in 2 Ezra 11:39, man. Through who? Esau Edom, man. This is our verse 10. The Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, have brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord, our power. And that's what we're doing, man. We declaring the works of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Hey, though it be told to you, man. Let's get this. This is Habakkuk 1-5. It reads, Behold ye among the heathen and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which you will not believe, though it be told to you. Hey, and we telling it, man. This is, hey, speaking prophecy into existence, man. Hey, the apostles been pushing it for years. They've been pushing the MOTB for years, man. World War III for years. Famine and pestilence and concentration camps, man. Martial law for years, man. Then we are pushing it, man. Because it needs to be so, man. We ready to get out of here, man. Let's see. Let's read this. This is from the brother Kazab Ben Yehuda, Tobit 13:3. Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. It say there, well, Babylon the Great, man, there declare his greatness and extol him before all the living, for he is our power, and he is the power of our Father forever. And that's what we doing, man. We declaring the words of Yahweh Shema Bashai, man. And I will, it say, and he will scourge us for our iniquities, and will have mercy again, and will gather us out of all nations among whom he has scattered us. Hey, and we watching, what it said, rising to power, for this is not our rest, man. So we are spiritually coming up out of this place before the destruction happened. Because when you read in Revelation 11, it tell you that the righteous, matter of fact, let's read that. This is Revelation 11 in verse 13. Revelation 11:12. Let's read this. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in the cloud, and their enemies beheld them. In the same hour there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. So you got the 10 FEMA zones, right? So the 10th part of the city fell. Then you got, there are 10 codes from 0 to 9, man. Every state have a zip code, area code from 0 to 9. It's talking about North America, Babylon the Great. Then the 10th part of the city fell, and then the earthquake was slain of men 7,000, and the remnant was affrighted and gave glory to the power of heaven. Why the remnant was affrighted and gave glory? Because as saying 1 Peter 4:18, they were scarcely saved. That's why, right? And we can get that in Isaiah. Let's read this. This is Isaiah 24:15. It reads, "Wherefore glorify ye the Lord, Yahweh Shem Abashai, in the fires, even the name of the Lord Yahweh Shem Abashai, power of hosts in the isles of the sea." So glorify ye the Lord in the fires, man. And that go into our trials and tribulations, our adversity and afflictions. These are fires, man. As well as we glorify Yahweh Shem Abashai. Though he putting us through the adversity, the afflictions, the trials and tribulations, hey, we glorify Yahweh Shem Abashai, hey, because he ain't had to do us like that, man. And he said he could have just done away with Israel and created stones and could have named them Israel. But he didn't, man. He said he would not give his glory to another, man. As we keep going over and over to these other heathen nations, telling them that they can't be part of this, man. When you read Jeremiah 33, starting at verse 19, the Lord say, hey, these same people that said Israel is not a people, the Lord say he will want to make them to be fools, man. He's going to make known that the children of Israel, that when it was said Hosea 1:10, in the land where it was said to you, you are not my people, there it shall be said to you. Why? Because the Lord said, in the land of our captivity, we shall remember ourselves, man. And we shall come out of this place spiritually, man. Spiritually, emotionally, right? We're going to come out of this place, man. Mentally, come out of this place. And wait on you, how about Shema Shah, man? Because World War III is going down, and it's going down so like it through intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. This is let's read this. This is from Brother Adam Nana. He put up 2 Ezra 8:50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. Right, man? That's what's going down, man. Many great miseries, man. And it's going to happen now, man. It's happening now already. Before the Lord, before the angels let loose those four winds, hey, it's happening right now, man. So stay prayed up, man. Because these devils, all in the news right now is them talking about pushing the Jabberwocky, man. And you ain't going to be able to work or eat without it, man. That's a prelude to the Karagma, man. We see it playing out. So, hey, for you that's in the know, hey, stay prayed up, man. Hey, the water for the precepts, the water for tuning in. You gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all Israel, ready, accepted or not. And the sincere salutation to all our can pushing the truth and believing the truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the ones who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. Hey, listen, the Lord is gathering these nations to battle, man. When you read Exodus 15:3, it tells you that the Lord, Yahweh, is his name. The Lord is a man of war. So what he's doing, he's gathering these nations and to give Yahweh Shah a great battle, man. Which it ain't gonna be no great battle, man. It's gonna kind of be like entertainment, man. Okay? Hey, the same way these elites use us jakes as they chefs and entertainment, guess what? Hey, your ass gonna be entertainment for Yahweh Shema Shah, man. Straight up. That's what the Lord is gathering these nations for. Entertainment before he lay them flat, man. You used us. Hey, the Lord say you put your hand on the apple of his eye, man. So he's gonna, the same way you used us as your chefs and court justice and sport and your little sports entertainment, you devils is gonna be the entertainment for Yahweh Shema Shai, man. Hey, because it's straight up tell you. Let me read this. This brother just posted this. Let me read this. This is Oh no, that's not the one. Let me get this one. Let me get this one. This is Revelation chapter 19 and verse 11. It reads, "And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war." War. World War III. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And if you ever saw that movie, 300, what did this guy come to Leonidas and do? He held up the heads of all the crowns that Xerxes had conquered, right? Well, that's what Yahweh, this is what Yahweh Shah's saying right here, man. His eyes was on his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, meaning he conquered all the nations on the earth, man, with the snap of a finger, man. And he held a name, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Power. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, meaning in chariots. Hold on. Now you go to Psalms 68, it reads this. This is Psalm 68 and verse 17. The chariots of God are 20,000. Can you imagine the sky being filled with 20,000 chariots? Far as your eye can see, man. The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place. So it say when Yahweh shall come back, he's going to have 20,000 chariots. And when you read it, what's that? Matter of fact, hold on. This is Isaiah 35. Let's get this. This is Isaiah 35. I'm sorry, Isaiah 31, Salakia. Isaiah 31 and 5. As birds flying, so will the Lord Yahweh of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and pass over, he will preserve it. So, Yahweh Shah is coming back with 20,000 chariots, even thousands of angels as birds flying. Now, you can take that as birds flying in a V formation, or you can take it as birds flying in a group. But he's coming back in the front, man, with 20,000 chariots, even 1,000 angels. Can you even wrap that around your brain, man? Far as the eye can see. So back in Revelation 19, it says, and the armies, Revelation 19 and 14, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses. This is 20,000 chariots, even thousands of angels, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the almighty power. You can read that in Isaiah 63. And he had on the vesture, and he had on his vesture, and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great power, right? That's what these vultures and buzzards, they're going to eat up all the flesh of these men. It say that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and them that sat on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, small and great. It say, and I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies, meaning Esau, Edom. The Lord says he's going to remove the northern army, right? He's going to remove the northern army in Job 2 and 20, which is the army from Babylon the Great, right? It say, and I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. The Lord is using these devils just for entertainment, man. And the beast was taken. Talking about who? EU and NATO and the harlot that sits on the scarlet colored beast. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, which is who? Roman Catholic dogma. That's why I tell you in Revelation, I think it's 16, when it say out of the beast mouth, out of the dragon mouth came 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, right? It say, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. You see? So the Lord, this devil, his army is not enough to take down Yahweh and the angels, man. They just used for entertainment, man. So I just want to read that, man. Hey, because it's going to be, hey, as they said in Wild Wild West, a big showdown, man. A showdown in Babylon the Great, man. Hey, so Lord was edifying, man. Lord was edifying. Again, I give all praise and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, by Hashem Rakak Kodash. The bonus to the apostles and elders of great millstone rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether you can accept it or not. Hey, the water for tuning in. May Yahweh Hashem Shah continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. Until next time, I say Shalom, Wa, Abba, Abba.